We are live. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to today's show. I'm on the road, so it's going to be a road show on the road, but I'm happy to see my guests are already arrived. It's Nigerian Constitution Know Your Right, a show powered every Tuesday by the Global Coalition for Security and Democracy in Nigeria. It's a show to empower Nigerians to understand the contents of the Constitution, to know their right, to understand their right, to understand the principles of government and how the government is supposed to be run, so that you can know how to hold our leaders accountable. And that is why we come with this beautiful program every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Nigerian time, 3 p.m. U.S. Central Time, and 4 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. And today's topic is about implementation of treaties. Implementation of treaties. So if you're just joining, please go ahead and like, share, so that we'll have more audience watching and learning together as a family, one big Nigerian family. Okay? And before we go ahead, I will invite add my guest to the stream so that we can continue the conversation. All right. Welcome, Barrister Joseph. Welcome to the show. You are always.
Thank you, Doctor, and happy birthday, belated.
All right. Thank you. My birthday was how many days ago? 4 days ago? 3 days ago? I can't remember.
Yeah.
4 days ago, 22nd of September. So thank you for that wonderful birthday wish. Welcome to the program, UC Maxwell.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for having me once again.
Right.
Yeah, good evening, Maxwell.
Yeah, good evening, Barrister Joseph. It's a pleasure to be here again.
This is like a reunion. You know, this is the second time you two are appearing at the show at the same time. So maybe it's a reenactment. So thank you for answering the call. Thank you for coming to the show today. And I hope we're going to have a robust conversation. It's going to be, maybe it's not going to be too long, maybe 30 minutes, 25 or 30 minutes, because I am on the road. So, but I'm sure we're going to try to get much accomplished within that short period of time. The topic is implementation of treaties, and this is focused on section 12 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Okay, we've been on chapter 1 for many weeks now, and I believe this is the last section of chapter 1. Next Tuesday, which is going to be the first Tuesday in October, we're going to start chapter 2. That is to learn about the objective and directive of state policy. I think that will be chapter 2. So that we'll learn what these people will call our leaders, what is supposed to do, and then empower Nigerians to be able to hold them accountable and understand the processes. So, treaties. What is treaties? Let's start with that. What is treaties? Treaty. Treaty is just simply an agreement, a formal agreement that has been ratified between two countries or two regions, and so on and so forth. So that is what we're talking about today, the implementation of treaties. So like Nigeria as a country have treaties with many countries, like even just business treaties. We have business treaty with about 31 countries. And so that's to show you. But if you talk about other treaties that have to do with human rights, that's even more on those. So, but instead of me talking too much, I yield the floor to our able barrister Joseph Tendo Baggio. What does our constitution tell us about treaties and its implementation according to section 12 of the constitution?
Well, by the import of the provisions of section 12 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, it has given the latitude to Nigeria as a country, and also giving power to the National Assembly to validate whatever agreement, whatever treaty, whatever bilateral engagement Nigeria may be having with another country. And you and I know that Nigeria is a member state to many organizations across the world, ranging from at the regional level, ECOWAS, at the continental level, being the African Union, and at the global level, the United Nations. And in all of this, there are treaties, there are protocols, there are bilateral agreements that Nigeria is also signatory to. Now, if we want those bilateral relations, those treaties, those protocols that Nigeria has ratified, that look, we have agreed to this, we are bound by the terms, then for same to become law that can be enforced in Nigeria, then Section 12 of the Constitution must validate that. By that treaty, that protocol, or that bilateral agreement must be reenacted as a Nigerian legislation through the National Assembly in what we call, in constitutional law language, ratification of treaties.
All right. Thank you very much, Barrister Joseph, for giving us a better understanding of what treaty is and highlighting examples of treaties that Nigeria is involved in, both from the regional level all the way to the global stage. So over to you, UC Maxwell. So you've heard what the barrister said about the treaties and how that it has to be ratified by the National Assembly. So, in your opinion, what would you tell Nigerians about the way and manner in which the National Assembly have ratified a couple of treaties that Nigeria is involved in?
Okay, good evening to the viewers, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Dr. Edmond, for having me. And it's once again a pleasure. Can you hear me clearly, please?
Loud and clear.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's once again a pleasure to be here with Barrister Joseph to discuss the issues regarding the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now, the issues surrounding treaty and laws that, or treaties, basically they just relate to international laws. So these are international documents or international agreements which happen within countries, either countries of the same continent or countries of different continents, but it is between countries, documents which countries come together either between two countries or more to sign and agree to be bound by the contents of those treaties. So there are 1,001 treaties that we can talk about, which Nigeria is a signatory to. So as a nation, Nigeria, you could sign some agreements which binds you in connection with other countries, be it within the regional level or within Africa or outside Africa. And once these signatures are appended to, in quotes now, they become bound by the provisions of these treaties. So I'll just hold here till we dive in depth into the provisions of the Constitution.
Thank you very much, UC Maxwell, for that wonderful opening statement and telling us about the treaty. So, speaking about the treaty, it's the same question I'm going to ask you now. It's the same question I'm going to ask Barrister Joseph. Do you think the Nigerians, the ordinary citizens of Nigeria, supposed to pay attention to what kind of treaties that the National Assembly try to ratify or try to get Nigeria into? What's your opinion on that?
Well,
You see Maxwell first, because after you see Maxwell, the same question goes to Barrister Joseph, but you see Maxwell going first as the last speaker.
okay, thank you. So, basically, one would say they need to pay attention. I would like to highlight that, when Nigeria goes into such signing of treaties or international, it's hardly that you see lawmakers there. Actually, that's the National Assembly that we are talking about. So you could see some persons in some particular ministries, in some particular parastatals. For instance, there could be a treaty on the basis of regarding probably the implementation of human rights, and you may not need to see a National Assembly member or lawmakers there. You may just need to see people or parastatals or ministries that really pay close attention to these issues that regard to human rights, or the Ministry of Justice and the likes. But when it now comes to the ratification, that is where the processes of the National Assembly comes in. So there's a need for the National Assembly themselves to pay attention to such documents which they'll be signing, and not just them alone paying such attention to the documents. Those who are players, key players in the polity, they need to pay attention to the details of these documents, because when treaties are signed, they do not automatically become law in Nigeria. It is the actions or the legislative duties of the National Assembly that makes it laws in Nigeria. So there's a need for due diligence to question such treaties, whether they have a bad ripple effect on the people, or whether they would affect the people in a good way, so that they don't just sign into law something that would affect the people adversely. Because law in its real sense have to be from the spirit and nature of the people. It has to arise from the spirits and true dictates of the people. So if it is not in the best interest of justice of the people, then it is a bad law. So whenever treaties are to be signed or ratified, as the case may be, they need to pay close attention to the articles, the paragraphs, and all sections of the treaty document.
Follow-up question before I go to Barrister Joseph. The follow-up question is: you're saying that is the lawmakers that are supposed to pay attention, and also major players or people in the political space. So are you in a way absorbing the ordinary Nigerian like me, who is not belonging to any political party? Are you absorbing me from paying attention to what treaty the lawmakers are trying to ratify, or what treaty have Nigeria already signed into? Is that what you're saying, sir?
No, not at all. Not at all. Like I say, if the people are not, the laws must emanate from the true dictates and spirit of the people. So I guess if the people are not even aware, how can they know if these laws really affect them? So it goes to show that every individual, every citizen of the country of Nigeria, everybody involved, both the government agencies who may be discussing the terms of these treaties, those who will be appending signatures, the lawmakers at the National Assembly who would be deliberating on the issues of these treaties. And as you know, before laws are passed in Nigeria, most times I would say they create room for people to come in and give in their input regarding the laws. The only problem is that even after budgeting for such monies for publicity and the likes from the National Assembly, they do not do proper publicity for the people to be aware. So there is a need for the people of Nigeria to be aware that there is a law that needs to come into place as a result of a treaty which needs to be ratified. So if you inform the people properly, then give the people time to know if they want this law or not. We saw the recent happenings in Lagos State, where the people began to cry over the implementation of a particular law, which is the Lagos State traffic laws, which punishes violating traffic lights or traffic signs with the forfeiture of your vehicle and the 1 year imprisonment for first time offenders. So these are laws that were already passed by the State House of Assembly. The people were not aware when these laws were passed, so that is why they can start crying now. So there's a need for the generality of people to know when any law, be it a normal law, that's a municipal law within Nigeria, or the ratification process of an international treaty. So there's a need.
Thank you very much. Now, over to you, Barrister Joseph. The same question. Do you think that the Nigerian people is supposed to pay attention to the treaties that Nigeria get itself involved in, and when the lawmakers are about to ratify, do you think ordinary Nigerians, are supposed to start paying attention to that?
Well, I'm sorry you may not be seeing my face. The usual situation we always have in Nigeria.
Down NEPA. Down NEPA.
So, ignorance of the law, they say, is not an excuse, right? So the people are well informed if they know what exactly they are supposed to obey. So from the process of entering to the treaty, there is every need for advocacy, there is every need to raise awareness and all of that. So I think it's very important for every Nigerian to know the kind of treaty Nigeria is signatory to, and how it is going to affect us, how it is going to position us at the global level, how it is going to affect our foreign policies, how it is going to affect our foreign earnings and all of that. So it's very, very important to us as citizens to know what kind of treaty. Take, for instance, the Convention on the Right of a Child, 1981, which was signed, which Nigeria was signatory to, gave birth to the Child Rights Act of 2003, which today we have about 28 states in Nigeria that has domesticated the law. That's because a lot of awareness was raised as to the importance, as to the need for the protection of the right of the child. Now come to look at the other ones that Nigeria is signatory to without adequate awareness that is affecting us today. Starting from the Stockholm Declaration of 1972, which talks about environmental rights and environmental principles, down to the Rio Declaration of 1992, to the Copenhagen, and where we are today as far as environment is concerned. Because of the level of inadequate awareness on the importance of these treaties, Nigerians don't even know that environmental rights should become, as a matter of fact, move from the fundamental objective to chapter 4. Because imagine if somebody decides to smoke up the environment, how will you live? Will your right to life be guaranteed? Will your dignity be guaranteed, and all of that? So it's very important. I'm just highlighting this as example for us to know why it is important for us to know the kind of treaty. Now, at the continental level, talking about the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, that is one of such. Till today, we are still battling with awareness as to the importance of that beautiful continental treaty that Nigeria is signatory to, and as a matter of fact, has been ratified by the National Assembly. So it is very important for us to know what is the import of that treaty. How is it going to affect us? Take, for example, now, the UN Resolution 1325, which talks about inclusion of women in issues of peace and security. We are still battling with it because we lack adequate awareness and all of that. So it's very important that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the National Assembly, the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice, alongside with the National Orientation Agency and other sister agencies, should work collaboratively in raising the bar of awareness on some of these treaties before Nigeria even append her signature to, for us to know as Nigerians, for us to know the beauty of the law for us to know whether or not we may raise issues with it based on our heterogeneity, based on our diversity, based on our cultural settings, based on the kind of people we are as Nigerian and Africa at large. So it's very important, Dr. Ikeh.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Barrister Joseph, for that wonderful summation. I'm going to take a moment and read comments. And please, if you're listening out there and you haven't commented, you can comment, say your greetings, ask your questions, and we are always happy to answer all questions. And once again, share the link so that more people can watch and learn. Okay? Because it's very important. The purpose of this program is to educate our fellow Nigerians, is to make sure that everyone is empowered to stand for their right, to have the knowledge because if you don't know anything, right, you won't question it. So you have that uh, uh, knowledge to be able to question what the leaders are doing. If they are doing it right, then we can congratulate them. And if they are not doing it right, we can point out that they are not doing it right and hoping that they improve. And if they don't improve, then we know, okay, the next action is to vote them out come the next election. So this is why this is the purpose why we are doing this. This is the purpose why the Global Coalition for Security and Democracy in Nigeria powers this program. And I'm just an anchor. And I'm thankful for all the hosts that always come to answer our call when we call them to come and appear as studio guests, like UC Maxwell here and Barrister Joseph, who are becoming now regular guests to the show. So the first, I think, comment here say, "Hello everyone, hope I never too me so." That's from Rita English. She's a regular participant in this show. I don't think she's missed just a few Tuesday, but she's always here most Tuesday. Thank you, Rita, for always coming in the show. And you haven't missed that much, unless you just come in, then you've probably missed 20 minutes. If not, you haven't missed that much. And you can always go back and watch the show at your convenience, whether on Facebook, on Twitter, or on a YouTube channel. Okay. I think that's the only comment we got today. So the next question, which is probably going to be the last question I'm going to ask, and then we'll have a closing remark because I am on the road. I'm sorry about that, my audience, that you may be hoping that we'll stay for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and but not today. All right, bear with me. So the next question, Barrister Joseph and UC Master touched on something important about awareness. Awareness is very important. We talk about UC Master give example of the law that was written by the Lagos State House of Assembly without the knowledge of the Lagosians. What kind of country do we run, whereby lawmakers make laws without informing the people? Are you making the laws for yourself only, or just for the lawmakers? Are you making the law for the entire population? If you're making the law for the entire population, that means you carry the population along, because those are the people that we have to live under that law. So, and we know for a fact that there are funds, there are money set aside for publicity. There are money set aside for publicity. So why are these people, the lawmakers, like State House of Assembly or the National Assembly, or other commissions like the ones mentioned by the barrister, or other agents that are tasked by certain job of creating awareness to the people or creating orientation to the people? Why don't they use those funds for publicity? And how can we hold them responsible to ensure that they start using the money that have been set aside to do what it's meant for? We'll start with Barrister Joseph as the last speaker, then after that, UC Maxwell.
Well, I think it's quite unfortunate that our leadership recruitment in Nigeria has remained something that can only be best defined by the politicians. If not, as a legislator, what is your role? You have a representation role. I mean, yes, a representative role to play. You have a legislative role to perform, and you have an oversight function to perform. you know. But the opposite is what we see most time. So I think the legislature needs to do more in raising the bar of awareness on every law they intend to carry out. Uh, some of the time, most times, I share the sentiment of my brother UC Maxwell. Uh, when the Lagos State government was making this law, how adequate was the awareness during the public hearing, or for members to be aware of the public hearing, and all of this. So I think in all of this, the legislature needs to raise the bar of awareness. They need to understand that they are there to serve the people, not to serve themselves. The law they are making is for us and not for them alone, except if they are telling us that they are making laws that will only suit their interest and sustain their political design. If that is not the case, then why will you make a law and people will not know about that law? How will you make a law, or how do you intend to make a law and you don't carry out sensitization, you don't carry out maybe research and documentations to ascertain by statistics or by fact and figure the effect of that law in the long run and in the short run, So I think in all of this, the legislature needs to know that, yes, they need to understand what exactly is the business of a legislature.
Thank you very much, Barrister Joseph. Over to you, UC Max, with the same question. So why are these people not using the money set aside for this function of awareness? And then how can we hold them responsible and make sure?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, there are about how many stages of passing a law in Nigeria, and for the sake of the discourse we are having, the ratification of an international treaty. Now, where an international treaty have been made, parties to it have signed it. It is brought before the National Assembly. It will be considered on its merit, first hearing, second hearing, first reading, second reading, committee stage, third reading, and all that before the proper assent to the president. Now, it may surprise you to know that fundamentally, the public hearing is not really a stage in law passage in Nigeria. I would say it is done in fulfillment of all righteousness. Now, what can we then do to make sure that these things are properly done? Because you cannot be making a law in isolation. Even the executive was told that you should govern the state, protect the citizens and properties, lives and properties. The legislative arm is supposed to make laws for justice and fairness for the people, not for a selected few, not for a selected, class. So what we can do to checkmate this is to actually bring our lawmakers to question. Every lawmaker in Nigeria comes from a constituency. So the constituency, what do they do to be sure that these lawmakers actually do the biddings that they want? Because actually they are there on a representative capacity. That should be noted. When a person is voted from his constituency, even though the person comes to make laws for the furtherance of the good governance of the totality of Nigerians, the person was actually voted by the constituency he is from. Funny enough, a senator from Kogi East, I will not vote for him all the way from Abuja. He will be voted for in Kogi East constituency, even though he's going to work for the federation. So the people within these federating units, within these constituencies, must be able to hold their lawmakers accountable, ask them questions. When you are able to ask them questions, all these committees that are created, what do they do? What are the activities that they carry out? Create proper publicity. If they are not ready to do that, you enjoy the rights you have under section 69 of the constitution. Is it 69 now or 96? I think section 96, if I'm not mistaken, that allows for the recall of a particular lawmaker. So if they are not ready to do that which the people want, they should be ready to come back to their houses. We cannot keep on budgeting monies, spending monies for people who are not ready to do the jobs in the best manner for which they must do it. So those are the right steps that I think we should take. Hold them accountable, hold town hall meetings, bring these people down there to answer questions, and we can be able to make headway as a nation.
All right. Thank you very much for that wonderful summation, UC Maxwell. I think this is the last questions. Uh, once again, for people that just joined late, the discussion today was implementation of treaty. We define treaty as a formal agreement that's ratified between two countries or regions. And this guys did a wonderful job to list some of the treaties that Nigeria is partaker in, like the regional level, that's West Africa, the continental level, that's the African Union, and uh, the global stage, which is the United Nations. And United Nations will have we are signatory to the United Nations Charter of People, Human and People Act. And the same way in the African Union, we're also signatory to the African Union uh, Charter for Human and People Act, and we have ECOWAS and so on and so forth. And we have the Abuja Treaty, which also speak about the continental Africa, like the free trade that Barrister Joseph mentioned. So these are examples of treaties that we're involved in, and in some way, these treaties affect us as Nigerians directly or indirectly, and we ought to know about when they are signed and when they are being ratified by our National Assembly. And just like we need to know when other laws that is contained in our Constitution are being amended or altered or created new laws. So these are very important. So if you have not been following your lawmaker, make sure you follow them. As UC Maxwell mentioned, every lawmaker comes from a constituency. I've mentioned here several times in this show, and I also mentioned that the problem with our lawmakers is that they do not have constituency offices. So every lawmaker is supposed to have a constituency office in their constituency, so that you'll be reachable to the constituency. Uh, when, uh, Mr. Joseph, can you mute yourself? Mr. Joseph, please mute yourself for a minute. So every lawmaker is supposed to have a constituency office to be reachable to the people or his constituents, so that you can reach the lawmaker and tell him or her what you want to see in their lawmaking process and what laws to be made for the betterment of your region, your community, and the country at large. So I will give the floor now for 1 minute closing remarks each to we'll start with UC Maxwell as the last speaker, then Barrister Joseph. UC Maxwell.
Okay. Let me quickly just do a quick rundown of what Section 12 actually provides. Now, Section 12 makes it sure that every international treaty, and that is the beauty of it, so that the executive does not go on its frolic and then signing documents. It is just a checkmating process to make sure that the National Assembly checks such treaties that have been signed, and then where there are lacunas, it rejects it, and where they are probably relevant, they will be signed and made a law in Nigeria. There was a case before the court. It's a very popular case, the case of Abacha versus Fawemi, where the issues regarding the ratification of the African Charter for Human Rights was brought before the court. Fawemi had sued Abacha for issues bordering on human rights and the likes. So the real crux of the issues there are that the National Assembly must take up its role and play it diligently, because this is not just a lawmaking role, it is also a role to checkmate the executive and make sure that they do not sign treaties that we see us paying heavy monies for things that actually do not benefit us. And also, the National Assembly has the right, normally the law has provided for the exclusive list and the concurrent list. An exclusive list is only exclusive to the National Assembly, But however, this section also allows the National Assembly to make laws from issues regarding the concurrent list that are not in the exclusive list, so far as they relate to international treaties. So the National Assembly have a big role to play, and they must sit up to these responsibilities and make sure that such international documents that are signed actually affect the people positively and not just to have a negative effect on the people at the long run. Thank you very much.
Thank you, UC Master, for that closing remark. Over to you, Barrister Joseph Tenjo.
Well, the National Assembly should understand that under the principles of separation of powers, they are supposed to place a check and balance the excesses of the executive. Where that is not done, I think they will be failing in their duty at the home front. At the international front, where Nigeria may be a signatory to a treaty, they also have a duty. They owe us a duty of care to make sure that we are aware of what the content of that treaty is and the direct impact it will have on the people. It is not just signing, or it is not just ratifying it through a ceremonious process alone that matters. On the whole, the National Assembly is the eye, is the eagle eye of the nation, and where they fail, the nation will certainly sink, because a nation without a direction or a purposeful direction, courtesy of law, is not uh, yet a nation. So I think where we are standing today, the National Assembly should look inward and assess herself and said, where are we? Are we really serving the interest of Nigeria? Are we really serving the interest of the common man? Where that is not, then they should listen to the voices on the street. And those voices are the voices we are calling out on them today to rise up to their duties as representative, as lawmakers, and as performance of oversight function. Is very key if the nation must move forward.
Thank you very much for that closing remark, Barrister Joseph. Here you have it, my fellow Nigerians. You've heard what the good barrister said. You hear what UC Maxwell said. They have given their legal mind and legal knowledge to us to understand what it means to implement the treaty. First of all, start with what is a treaty? A formal agreement a formal agreement that has been ratified between countries, and I'll have examples that will have with the United Nations, African Union, and ECOWAS, and other African countries or other individual countries. So it's important that we understand how these laws are being made and how the treaties are being ratified by our National Assembly. It is very important that we know that, so that we can know when to hold lawmakers accountable to ensure they ratify the right treaty that is beneficial to us as Nigerians. Okay, so this is where I leave you. I'll say thank you once again, Barrister Joseph. Thank you, UC Maxwell, and we shall be here again. Hopefully, I'll bring, if both of you have time, I'll bring both of you again as we start a new chapter, chapter 2, next week. So thank you once again for being here, and this is where I leave you all until next Tuesday, 9 p.m. Nigerian time. Bye.